Can a person really be sucked into a jet engine at idle? Why not put a screen in front of a jet engine? Well, we're going to answer those questions and more on this episode of Taking Off. Hi, I'm Dan Milliken, and recently a woman working on the ground crew at Montgomery Regional Airport in Alabama was fatally sucked into the jet engine of an Embraer 175 while parked at the gate. We reported on this story and have seen some questions over and over in the comments, like, is this really even possible? I've done some research and I want to answer these common questions from that video. But before getting into that, I want to let you know that our channel is only able to do this because of our sponsors, like Z-Vision, the brightest landing and taxi lights available, and others. Please check them out in the description below, and I'll talk more about our sponsors at the end. Okay, let's get to it. For those who haven't heard or don't remember, we're talking about the tragic case of a woman who was working ground crew, and on New Year's Eve in the afternoon, she walked into the ingestion zone of the number one engine, and was instantly killed. According to the NTSB, there had been 2 safety meetings in the 10 minutes before the plane even arrived to the gate. The auxiliary power unit on the airplane was not working, and the engines would be left on a little longer than normal, which is not uncommon. But the crew was briefed twice, and tragedy still happened. Okay, here's the most common questions that you guys have been asking. Was the engine running at a higher level than idle? No. The engine was at idle. I have confirmed through multiple sources, verified the engine was at idle. Did she commit suicide? Well, there's no indication that this is what happened. There is gate surveillance video that the NTSB has, and they didn't list this as a possibility in their prelim report. People that ask this question ask because they can't believe an engine would suck someone up. Why can't there be a wire mesh or screen or bars or some other protection built into the front of an engine? Actually, this has been studied in depth, mainly because of the issue with ingesting birds. What the engineers have found is several reasons why this doesn't work. First, because of the strength needed for the protection, whether it's a screen or safety bars, it would be incredibly heavy. And on a plane, weight is everything. With the added weight, the engines would have to become bigger to provide the required thrust, which would lead to having to create heavier mounting and heavier structures, and basically making flight too difficult. Weight is one factor. Another factor is the effectiveness of the jet engine. To understand that, let's go into some very basic overview of how a jet engine works. The common, simple explanation is suck, squeeze, bang, blow. Well, the engine is sucking in all this air, compressing it or squeezing, superheating it by mixing with fuel and igniting the bang, and blowing it out of a turbine that in turn runs your compressor to blow out the exhaust, resulting in thrust. By putting a screen on the front, even a very thin one, the amount of air going in becomes restricted. The engine will not achieve the level of effectiveness in thrust. You need bigger engines to make up for the loss of thrust, and you'll need a whole lot more fuel. So engine efficiency is another factor why screens on engines just won't work. Can an engine actually suck someone in at idle? Well, the answer is absolutely. If it wasn't, there would be no need for safety ingestion zones. The FAA has requirements for engines on passenger airplanes. The regulations in CFR 25.121 require a twin-engine jet at critical takeoff configuration before the landing gear is retracted to be able to climb on one engine. That means these engines are extremely powerful, and just sitting at idle, the amount of air required to be ingested is still at a very high volume. Engines at idle can suck water off the concrete from many feet away, and that's why most airline safety manuals define an ingestion zone to stay clear of when the engine is operating. The distance depends on the engine. But don't just take my word for it. There have been other tragic fatalities where a person was sucked into an engine. There's the famous one on an aircraft carrier where the guy's helmet got stuck, preventing him from totally being ingested. He survived with just minor injuries. Like I said, these engines are extremely powerful. Pilots often have to shut down one engine on taxi, or they'll have to ride the brakes to the gate. And this can vary with the weight of the airplane at the moment. Will ingesting a person destroy the engine? Well, actually, jet engines have been tested with chickens being ingested and with small birds, and the engine needs to keep working. But of course, if you get a lot of birds, like Sully's Miracle on the Hudson, it will stop the engine. An engine that ingests a bird should be able to keep working. An engine ingesting a human? No. It'll damage the engine. Is it unusual for an aircraft to taxi in with both engines running? It's not uncommon, but usually the flight crew will shut down one engine a few minutes after landing on the way to the gate, using the one engine running for thrust to get to the gate. There are occasions when the airplane will taxi to the gate with both engines running, which was the case in Montgomery. This was all communicated to the ground crew long before the airplane arrived. As to which engine is shut down after landing is usually the choice of the flight crew. There are many safety procedures for all of this, starting with the big flashing red light under the plane and on top of the plane. This beacon stays lit until after the engines have been turned off and they've spoiled down. As long as this red flashing light is on, it's a signal for the ground crew to stay out of the ingestion areas. Did she not realize the engine was running because of the hearing protection the ground crew wear? Well, for the ground crew, they are working in a very loud environment and need to wear hearing protection. Good hearing protection might cut out most of the sound of an engine at idle, but you'd probably still hear it. You can grow accustomed to the sound and begin to subconsciously just tune that out. More than the sound is that flashing red light on the underside of the plane's belly that indicates it's not safe. All right, many of you have commented on the safety aspect. My film company does a lot of work in the construction industry, and we do a lot of safety training videos. And I've personally sat through many a training meeting and on-site job safety briefings and the like. Like so many have commented, even the best safety meetings, training, classes, procedures don't matter if an individual chooses to ignore them. I feel incredible sympathy for the family that has lost a mom. But at the end of the day, safety is an individual decision. It is for me when flying an airplane, every time I climb into the cockpit. All the checklists, the best practices, safety directives by the FAA will only go so far if I choose to ignore them. And that's what I take away, a reminder that safety is not up to the programs, procedures, and policies. It's up to me, and it's up to you. All right, I want to thank our sponsors like FlyingEyesOptics.com. We're using our code TAKINGOFF, all caps, one word, will get you 10%. Colton Mortgage for your residential mortgage. ClemensInsurance.net. TailwindWaymakers.org, making flying dreams come true. Enter to win an airplane. And the best mounts out there with 67 designs. Also, Marshal Protective Services, MPSProtects.com. And if you haven't seen our recent report on the Buddy Holly crash, check it out right here. It's the first time that Christy, Bailey, and myself all did a report together. So stay safe out there and remember, superior judgment trumps superior skills. Take care.